What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Daily Driven. And today, as the title suggests, we'll be looking into some of the nice features that I have coded into the 530i. Yeah. So I know you're wondering why coding features to a car that was already set up. But for BMW and some of other car manufacturers, like you have certain features that are usually disabled or enabled while the car is rolling off to the customer. So these features are usually found in the higher trims or in some specific requirement or regulations for certain countries. And, but for us now to enjoy those features, we have to code them. So there's some assortment of tools that we use. And thank you, BMW, for making this, available. Yeah. Me being one of those people that love playing around with their car, here we are. And the first feature that I played with is in the instrument cluster. So as you can see, currently the gauge or the speed gauge is reading 330 kilometers per hour. So the stock speed for this car, the max speed is 260. So I coded that just to give it the AM limit, which is 330. So in the instrument cluster, I haven't done much. There are several things that you can do. Like for instance, change the display to digital. You can also change like the look. For instance, you can change the M Performance look or the Alpina look. Alpina is owned by BMW, and what they do is customize certain models into certain or specific look. Like for instance, if it's the sport look, or they may modify it for luxury or even add some little tune here and there. So Alpina does exactly the same thing that Mansory does, just to make cars look cooler for specific people. Let's move on to the next feature. And the next feature we have is the auto start stop memory. So a lot of people usually permanently, like most BMW owners that do code their cars, usually disable it permanently, like the auto start stop. I also don't like that feature, but what I did was to enable memory. So basically, when I switch off the engine and the next time I'm coming back to the car will remember my last setting, which is obviously off. Yeah, so for me that's better than permanently disabling it. So if the auto start stop is on, the next time I use the car, it will be on. If it's off, then it will always be off. I do not like auto start stop. I don't think it's good for the car. And also, it's not that high amount of fuel that you're going to save for the expense of your internals. So the engineers or the mechanics in the audience watching this, I know you can all agree that there is no way a car will move from 0 RPM to rolling off without having some of the internals go metal to metal. The car is starting and moving off within milliseconds. So by the time the oil, recirculate, like if you understand how the internal of a car, of an engine works, you'll know that it's very hard that oil will have circulated throughout the engine. So you'll find that some of the parts will, grind each other. So yeah, that's what I think. Yes, modern engines we start stop usually try to maintain the oil pressure during this time, but it may not be the internals, but there is ingredients for disaster. Like if you think of the starter motor or the battery, so these are being used repeatedly during traffic, which is kind of annoying, by the way. So just a precaution. And that's currently not active. Moving to the next. So the next feature we are going to look into has to do with the open and closing of the windows. So this car and most BMW have this feature where if you try to open the door while opening or closing uh, the windows are interrupted. So basically, like if I try to open the window and at that moment I open the door while this is happening, so this will be interrupted. I don't like that feature. So, because most of the time when you're going somewhere, you park the car in order to get out of the car. So you find yourself like having to close the window at the same time. You don't have to wait for the window to finish closing, so you get out. So I disabled that feature, just for convenience. Yeah. Moving on. One of the coolest features I did was to code in Sport Plus. So this car comes with Eco Pro, Comfort, and Sport. But what I did is add Sport Plus and Sport Individual. So if I press Sport once, if you look at the HUD here, we have Standard, which what the car came with. You have Plus and then Individual. So if I select Plus, so you can see from the instrument cluster that we are now in Sport Plus. So the difference between Sport and Sport Plus is like Sport Plus is more aggressive in the gearbox, the steering, and also the engine. Yeah, so I felt that was really cool to have Sport Plus, mostly if you want to launch your car or like basically for those random pulls. On the other end, Sport Individual is being able to customize the different settings for that driving mode. So in Individual, you can be able to set whether you want your steering to in Sport, engine in Sport, or transmission in Sport. You can either have in Sport, Comfort, or Sport Plus. Yeah, but for me, most of my driving modes are always in Sport, everything. Like gearbox, engine, and also the steering. I love having a firm steering because gives more response, gives more driver feel. I also enabled Comfort Plus, and yeah, so basically initially we had Standard, now we have Plus. And of course, since we had only one option, this screen wasn't available for Comfort. So my coding was to, enable these two, Standard and Plus, as selectable options. The other thing I did was to increase the brightness of the DRS from stock 61% to 100%. So now, as you can see, the angel eyes pops better and even better during the night. They look dope, right? Moving on. The next feature has to do with the brake lights. And how this feature works is when you apply some considerable amount of pressure on your brakes, mostly when you're coming to a stop, the brake light usually flashes. And what I did was to reduce that amount of pressure that you need to activate it. So stock was medium, and then I reduced to weak. So basically activate most of the time when you come into a stop, just to on the tailgaters. Let's have a look. So out of all these cool features, the coolest of them all is what I did with the exhaust. So for that, let's go outside and have a look. So actually first we need to plug in the ODB. We have this wireless inlet adapter that we're going to plug into the ODB port and connect to the app that we'll be using to play around with the exhaust. So let's do that. And in case you're wondering why I don't have a video, like going through the coding of all these features, it's because I had done this way early, long before I had the idea of this video. So probably in the future we can do that. So I'm currently connected to the car's ODB, and as you can see from this app, the exhaust is currently on auto. So this is like the stock settings, where you find that what I've noticed is like the left exhaust is usually open while the right exhaust is usually closed. So you can be able to control the opening and closing of the valves. So this exhaust is valvetronic, meaning we have valves inside the exhaust. It's not possible to get there, but yeah, and now we can be able to like control the opening and closing. So if I click open, yeah, so you add the valve opening, and now we're getting more sound from the exhaust. So currently both the exhausts are open, and the car is a bit more loud. I feel like I have superpowers. Being able to do this, really cool. My phone has had enough rain. Let's see if we can be able to do some revs. I won't be able to open the window all the way down because it's raining. Yeah, but I hope you can hear the difference. So currently we have the valves closed. Yeah, so let me try to rev. Yeah, so now let's open the valves and rev. You hear the difference, right? Yeah, so that will be really, really nice once we add a stage 1 to this engine. And that's it for today's video. Thank you for staying up to this point. I'll see you on the next one. Keep it daily driven.